Hey everyone, I'm Jamie alongside Akshay, Anthony, and Thomas. And today we'll be analysing Woolworths Group Ltd and Coles Group Ltd, focusing on their property, plant, and equipment disclosures for 2024. We'll compare their PPE accounting policies, assess which company provides more relevant and faithfully represented information, examine how changes in measurement and depreciation methods could affect Woolworths' results, and discuss the impact of impairment recognition on its financial health and investors' perceptions.
Our group's chosen company to research was Woolworths Group Limited. Woolworths are the first in their sector of 101 groups, sitting 18th on the ASX list. The company we've chosen to do a comparative analysis on is Coles Group, as they considered the direct comparison second best to Woolworths, sitting 22nd on the ASX list. To begin with, both Woolworths and Coles apply the cost model under AASB Statute 116, measuring assets at historical costs minus accumulated depreciation and impairment losses. This approach would be effective in my opinion. It ensures faithful representation through verifiable sources, consistency within figures in respective reports, which suits the greater retail sector, where assets such as stores, fixtures, and equipment generate income rather than assets held for appreciation. It would also assist future stakeholders, as it will be much easier to understand figures coming from these financial reports. For carrying values, Woolworths' PPE has rose from 8.8 billion to 9.6 billion, top figure showing that. Coles' PPE also doing pretty well. We've gone from 4.9 billion to 5.6 billion. Woolworths states that freehold land and development properties are not depreciated, while other assets are on a straight line basis on their reports. Quote, freehold land and development properties are not depreciated, while leasehold improvements are depreciated on a straight line basis. All other property, plant, and equipment are depreciated on a straight line basis over their useful lives and residual values. That comes from page 128 of the report, section 3.6. On depreciation, Woolworths, they disclose 1.1 billion effectively. They have a depreciation section of their financial reports. Coles Group, on the other hand, their financial report of 2024, pages 98 to 99, adopts the same PPE cost depreciation model. It's directly attributable to expenditure and subsequent capitalized costs, with straight line depreciation to residual value over expected useful lives. Coles does unfortunately not effectively show it as well as Woolworths, but from several figures shown, we can estimate that around $1 billion can be depreciated from right-of-use assets and PPE. Impairment within both groups is the next section we'll be talking about. Woolworths first up, they show impairment figures of $38 million due to rather underperforming retail and logistics programs. But on the other hand, Coles, $55 million in impairment losses. Both companies did apply a demanding structure and requirements of AASB 16 for right-of-use assets, which are subject to impairment testing.
Both Woolworths Groups and Coles Groups provide substantial PPE disclosures that are consistent with the AASB conceptual framework's core and qualitative criteria. So each corporation employs the cost model, which calculates PPE at historical cost less accumulated depreciation and impairment. It also applies straight line depreciation impairment and uses straight depreciation over specified useful lifetimes. So this strategy improves faithful representation through verifiability and the neutral application of standards, but it may sacrifice some relevance because carrying amounts don't actually reflect actual market values. Nonetheless, the consistent depreciation technique provides both confirmatory value, which enables users to confirm existing predictions about asset consumption, and predictive value, which facilitates forecast of future depreciation and asset replacement requirements. So Woolworths discloses precise useful lifespans and even tackles climate-related concerns to asset lifetime, which just exhibits its comprehensiveness and forward-thinking Woolworths has and its relevance. So in 2024, Woolworths and Coles both recognized PPE impairments of $38 and $31 million, respectively, to avoid overstating assets and demonstrate neutrality and completeness. In 2023, Coles corrected $11 million in losses due to higher recoverable values based on current estimations. Woolworths specifically linked PPE changes to strategic investments, so new shops, IT, acquisitions, and those sort of things, whilst Coles tied PPE growth to its capital program. Overall, Woolworths is a more complete qualitative discussion as they include explanations of impairments and their comprehensive PPE breakdown, which improve decision usefulness slightly more than Coles. Woolworths appears to better meet the conceptual framework's goal because it provides their relevance and they accurately represent information for decision making, essentially.
Hello and good evening, guys. My name is Anthony. Today we'll be going over the impact analysis of Woolworths for our report. Woolworths have used and adopted the cost model. This means that PPE is measured and disclosed at a cost less depreciation and accumulated impairment loss. The use of the cost model seems to be in favor of Woolworths, as they are first within their sector group and 22nd within the whole of the ASX 300. If Woolworths Ltd are to convert from their current cost model to the use of the reevaluation model, will show both positives and negatives towards the corporation. Positives in relation to converting to the reevaluation model, however, will be prominent within their balance sheet. This is then evident in relation to the increase of total assets, which in return will boost the total equity within the company and its sectors. This boost will improve and boost investor confidence within the company for investors like ourselves, as the switch to a reevaluation model may impose better financial ratios for them with up-to-date reporting, then made available towards stakeholders. However, given the risk of higher valuation and auditing costs due to regular reevaluations needing to be used, this can then be time and fund consuming. Secondly, the increase of hardship on accounting methods needed to be imposed within the company to keep on track with this method, as a reevaluation method would impose the use of increased and frequent detailed disclosure notes with an increase in fair value assessments. And lastly, there would be a downfall within the compatibility towards Woolworths companies within their competitors. Now, from an investor's point of view, our company is looking into the use of Woolworths Group's depreciation method is a straight line of depreciation. Woolworths have opted for this method as it can be stable in relation towards predictable expense recognition and is optimal in relation to the use of retail operations by the corporation. Our company is intrigued, however, to see what the state of Woolworths Group would be like and be affected in the use of switching from their current method to the use of a diminishing balancing method. The use of this new method will be considerably good in relation to the accuracy of assets' useful life. This will also show us how it's being used and then flows into the adaptation of better asset management, which allows Woolworths to recognize depreciation earlier on and allow for management and planning to be taken place for repairs and maintenance. The negatives, however, even with everything except the loss of comparability within the similar scenario of the change of the measurement basis, as we just recently discussed. There's also the risk of a less stable financial reporting and recognition of expenses, which will decline over time and then alter and improve the profit margins, having a false hope or false sense of better doing or wrongdoing by the company and their financial assets.
Hey guys, it's Jamie again, and I am been going through the Woolies recognition of impairment loss. So, through the use of accounting standards seen within Australian Accounting Standards Board, it is vital that companies such as Woolworths Group recognise an impairment loss on their PPE. This is key within a financial report to immediately eliminate misleading figures and any distorting key financial ratios. Ratios such as return on assets and debt to equity ratios are exposed to impairment adjustment. Although these may improve the debt to equity ratio as there are declines in the total equity, the ROA decreases as a reduction in value carrying assets that lower asset and equality totals. Consequently, real economic conditions are well reflected in their financial statements, as they serve usefulness in representing the company's credibility and long-term decisions, regardless of weaker immediate ratio performance. Woolworths Group's financial stability, assets and management, and profitability can be majorly influenced by the perceptions of investors through their recognition of an impairment loss. Stated in their 2024 financial year report, underperforming retail assets, recognition of reassurance of the future economic benefits, where the impairment loss is recorded. Although the management of Woolworths Group demonstrates strong faithful representation under the AASB 136, investors may raise concerns on declining asset efficiency and reduced profitability based on such write-downs. Woolworths' financial statements presented to stakeholders display relevance and reliability through the recognition of these impairments and ensuring that their recoverable amounts are reflected in the reported assets. Although return of assets are short-term financial ratios at risk of declines, investors are reassured that the operational risks in the company's management are consistently monitored as a result of transparent impairment decision disclosures. Ultimately, by highlighting the contributions Woolworths has against accountability, prudence, and sound governance, they help impact the maintenance of sustainable financial performance, long-term investors where confidence are well supported.
So overall, our analysis concludes that Woolworths Group Ltd provides more relevant and accurate PPE disclosures than Coles Group Ltd. But while both adhere to the AASB 116 and AASB 136, Woolworths displays higher transparency, verifiability, and decision-making utility through thorough cost model disclosures and comprehensive impairment reporting. So its regular use of accounting principles improves the comparability, the reliability, and just boosts investor trust, even despite its short-term profitability implications. So the review also demonstrates that changes to measurement or depreciation procedures have considerable impact on financial ratios and investor perceptions, which just emphasizes the significance of consistency Woolworths has. So finally, Woolworths' adherence to accounting standards and public reporting does demonstrate really high quality financial control, which thereby satisfies the conceptual framework's objectives of relevance and faithful representations to enable informed investment decisions.